think Doc was feeling that a little bit. I might have to start it over.
Just let it play low. Let it play low.
Let it play low. This is Everybody Got a Podcast, but everybody doesn't need a mic. I am your host, Vic James. Again, that stellar beat was made by my boy, Corbin Butler. New music out now. Make sure you go check him out. That is Corbin Butler on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. He has a couple really dope videos on there. I am joined today with a very special guest, a good friend of mine, family, if you will. Emmy Award winner, four-time AP Award winner. A doctor, PhD in counselor education, I believe.
Yes.
Mom, just general, all-around badass. My big sister, my adopted big sister, my mentor, Dr. Nicole Clark. Welcome to Everybody Got a Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be with you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We already talked for about 5 minutes, as we normally do.
Right.
Before we got started. Just how you doing,
living life, enjoying life, maximizing the moment, smelling the roses, making sure I work hard and play hard, all the things.
All the things?
All the things.
We just got back from Chicago, NABJ. Just off the top, what was your experience this time around at NABJ in Chicago?
I would say it was special. And many people said that it felt like a family reunion. It was like a family reunion, but even more so, it just felt safe.
It's Chicago.
Yeah, that part. But it just felt safe. And you don't have to explain who you are or what you do or why you do it. It's understood. And there was this spirit of I'm going to help you. Here's how. Let's collaborate. Let's get to know each other. Here's my digital business card. Let's stay connected. So it was good. I'm very glad I went.
Now you're back and, working hard as you always do, getting your kids together, being a mom as you are usually and always first. Just talk about, back to school and getting your kids ready. You got one in college,
yes,
one in high school.
Yup.
Different dynamics.
For sure. I mean, they just need me for money and food at this point because they're getting older.
I remember that.
Right?
That was me. I was the same kid. Yeah.
Exactly. They're I got this figured out, and if you could just finance it, I'll be good.
Sure.
I mean, I don't take it for granted. My daughter is a dream child. She leads me. She's the one who's doing the research, planning it out. She's mapping out a path forward, and I'm just along for the ride. I love watching her become a woman. I love watching her blossom and get excited. She did her first internship over the summer, so she got a little, inside look at what she'll be doing once she graduates and becomes a nurse. She loves to work with little children.
Yeah.
So she was enthused. She was like, Mom, they let me answer the phone. They let me, call and confirm appointments. She was hyped. But it's good because it just lets me know that she's in her lane.
Sure.
She's in her element. So many people are figuring out what comes next, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's value in that process, but when you are resolute and when you have a clear understanding of what you were supposed to do
especially at a young age,
and not being swayed or influenced by what other people are doing or not doing, it's comforting for a parent. I'm just you go girl. So I'm proud of her. I could talk about her all day. Equally, my son is the coolest cat. I swear.
I mean, his name is Kingston.
His name is Kingston. Such a strong name.
Such a strong name.
And it speaks for itself. He's not gonna let you know who he is. You just gotta figure it out. He's that.
You gotta come to him.
I would always say when he was younger, I would say he's like an oven. He's slow to warm. And he is. He don't come in hot at all.
Not like us.
No. He's the one sitting back in the cut, if we still say that. And he's just taking it all in. His high is right here and his low is right here.
Wow.
He's steady.
Yeah, level.
Yeah, he is level. He is steady. But he's got some sort of magnetism that like draws his friends to him. It's always been that way. He just makes friends really easily. So he's cool.
It makes sense. He's an oppressive kid. You're just telling me that he's, jack of all trades. He's playing high school football as a freshman, and he's also wants to be a part of the marching band as well.
Yes.
And so talk about that as a parent, trying to make sure you cultivate that duality a little bit.
He was adamant about it. I said choose. I said the counselor wants you to choose. He just didn't want to choose. And it really was him. I thought, is it that heifer? Is it like this girl that you like? Is it because she's in a band? He's like, no, Mom, I really want to do this, And so he continued to talk about it throughout the summer. So we went up to the school and talked with the counselor, and she's like, okay, we'll see how this works. And even now, like I was saying, like he's got practice before school. As far as football, he's got in-school football practice, and then he's got band in school, and then he got band practice after school. But so far, no complaints.
And for you, is that like what sports? Because I believe your daughter was a cheerleader. Is that correct? Or
for like 2 months.
Okay, okay. Never mind.
As long enough to take pictures. She was a dancer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she was like on the drill team.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she did a couple of things.
Yeah, not to conflate the two. So dance team, drill
Mm-hmm.
team. So still had to do something athletic, build character, camaraderie, things like that. So like when it comes to both of your kids, have you felt that sports, athletics have like given them something to where, kind of cultivate the values that you value as a parent?
Absolutely. I am a firm believer that it takes a village. And, Kingston's father is in Houston. And it's important for me as his mom to surround him with strong Black men, period. Like, I make no bones about that. As much as it's about learning the physicality of the sport, I want him also to consume the culture, and to have great respect and pride in all parts of him, all sides of him. And so when I see him out there and I see the coaches out there and I see them,
especially at Weiss.
Let me tell you something. When I say they are so about the business, like they are serious. They're like, listen, your social media handle should be this. Like it's very clear.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Vernon Hughes over at Weiss.
Right.
That's my guy. He's a head coach over there for the varsity. Yeah.
Yes.
He's like you say, all business.
It's all business.
He all business, yeah.
And I'm telling you, I watch their social media posts like it's a video, like it's a music video, because it is so well produced. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, this is high school. This looks like some pro caliber presentation. It's amazing. I'm like, King, did you see this? This from day 2 of football camp. Did you see this? So, I am in awe of this spirit of excellence that they have and that they are imparting in the kids. And when I tell you, like this, I could talk about this all day. Kingston, like I said, is slow to warm, like just real chill. Also with time management, very chill. I get there, I do it. Not with this football game. Let me tell you something. Like, man, if he had to be there at 7, he is tapping me up a good 6:40. We ready? We gotta go. Like, we gotta go. This is the first time that he's like, I need to be there early. Like, it's not a question mark. I love it. And we get there 10 minutes early, and it's like, we late. Them babies are late.
That's how it is. That's how, once you get to high school, I think that's the biggest difference from middle school sports at all to high school. And it gets, it goes another level up once you get to college. But like, it's, like if you're, it's the whole, like, what is it? The doctor, from Drumline, where he's like, you're
if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, you're late if you're on time. Like, it is.
And if you wish to remain here, you better start believing in being on time.
It's very much like that. So
Yes, no, he's all of it. And he's like, I gotta go because I gotta dress out and be ready
by the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love it. I just like chuckle as a parent, like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah, so and you've, been active and going to see these games in middle school and being a mom first, obviously you have your job, which gives you a lot of notoriety. So how have you so far, because you're going into another year of it, balance the part of like, I'm just here as a mom, I don't want to make it about me, but I also want to cheer on my son and be vocal about my excitement for him.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that out at all?
So I had to make a decision that I would only be focused on supporting my kids, right? So whatever that looks like, no, I'm not going to have work clothes on. I'm not going to be in a dress.
Sure.
Right? You know, I'm just saying, I think that's an expectation with some people. Oh, I haven't seen you like that. Well, because you haven't seen me at a football game, right? So I am going to be present as a parent, period, point blank, full stop. At the same time, I have to be mindful because I've had, as I've shared with you, occasions where we go somewhere and I'm going there as Kingston's parent, Lexi's parent, but people there see me as news anchor, Spectrum News, and all the things. And so then they get excited. They want to, talk to me and tell me how, they love watching the show and things. And that can make my kids feel smaller. So I have to minimize that. So that's something that I balance. And then at the same time, I notice like I'll go somewhere and then all the people start following me on social media. And again, I'm just mindful that though I may have a goal and a purpose, I can't take off being a known person in the community.
Sure.
So I can't take that off. So I accept that, and I still try to keep the attention on the kids because that's what they deserve. Like they don't deserve to, make a play to be like, oh my God, that's great. You had that on the news? It's just like, So just trying to just keep the focus on them is the goal.
This might be like a tricky one because you are obviously you say you want to minimize yourself, but it's also like how do you do that? Because you don't want to minimize yourself because I'm sure you're really proud of your accomplishments, your position in the community as a award-winning news anchor and this, that, and the third, right? Mm-hmm. But so like, how do you even balance that part of it out? Like not to minimize yourself and be like, okay, this is about the kids, but then also, balance out your feelings about it, or is it, just whatever it's for the kids, so it doesn't matter.
Right. I think that's just the case. I mean, what I do is what I do. Who I am is who I am. And so I won't allow the focus to remain on me if I am there for the kids. So if you want a picture, it's going to be real quick. If you want to tell me how much you love watching the show, I'm going to say a quick thank you. And I'm going to turn the attention back to the game, or back to the kids, so that it just doesn't grow out of control. Sure. Because it does. It actually does. It's wild.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I know family's super important to you. We're both big family people. We've talked about that. You've now the artist formerly known as Cross.
Right.
It's not weird. It's just different to call you Clark.
I know.
But just, I'm so happy. I just want to tell you that we haven't had a chance to really talk since the re-wedding and me being traveling all summer and things like that. So I haven't had a chance to say thank you. I mean, for inviting me as well to the way I wasn't able to make it, obviously, but it looked like a blast.
Yep.
And I'm just so happy for you. And I know this has been a journey for both of y'all. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to tell you face to face for the first time since I've had an opportunity that I love you and I'm so happy for you and your new nuptials. But yeah, talk about Brian. Let's talk about the man. First of all, I just want everybody to know this publicly that I called this and the initial when we first met.
Right.
3-4 years ago now.
Yes.
I was like, I like him for you.
You did say that.
Like that day, like that night. I was like, I pulled you to the side and I was like, I like him for you. Mm-hmm. You're smiling. I like this, So I just wanted that on the record that I said that off top. So
yes, you did.
But yeah, talk about B and his proposal. Being a new, a newlywed, right. Kind of newlywed, but newlywed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been a journey. It has been amazing. And what I like about it is we have traveled at our own pace. I wasn't sure. I mean, I've been married before, so I wasn't even sure if I wanted to get married again. Like you say, I'm very big into family, very, very much into my kids. And that was just my focus. And I had some mommy things I wanted to do. Like I wanted to buy my daughter a car. I wanted to buy it, right? You know, I wanted to make sure that my son had a very firm foundation. And so I just wasn't focused on me in the relational sense. And so it took time. I remember, initially he slid into my DM. He saw me on Spectrum News, doing the news, doing what I do. And he was like, ooh, in his words. But yeah, and so then he sent a friend request, of which I get a plenty. But at least he didn't seem like over the top. I did my little research, my little quick search. And he just seemed normal. And it seemed like he was into some of the same things that I was into. So I didn't think anything of it or think it was deep. I just accepted his friend request because I have accepted that most of my friend requests are viewers, right? And it just is what it is. My social media is not really personal anymore.
Sure.
It's just an extension of my work.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So it's a supporter, basically.
Yeah.
So I accepted it under those pretenses. But then he sent a message. And he was like, oh, you accepted my friend request. I feel honored. You're a celebrity. All this stuff. And I was like, oh, he is a fan. So we're going to have to go real slow because this could be imbalanced. And so we did. I mean, we messaged for weeks through social media before we even had a phone conversation. We were on the phone for weeks and weeks and weeks before we even met up for a date. And it was several months before we went on a date in the same vehicle. I had to be very cautious. I'm not from Austin, I'm from Houston, and I just wanted to take my time. And also because I have a reputation to uphold, a brand to protect.
Sure.
So we really, really, really took it slow. And I remember after the first year, we had a very adult conversation and we're like, okay, this is going really well. And I was like, but I'm not really ready to consider marriage. So let's do another year and see what happens. And so we did. And then at that point, we're like, you know what? I think we're getting closer. And I remember telling you. And then from there, we built on the relationship. What I love is that we have a very solid foundation that is built on friendship. I know all about him. He knows all about me. We respect each other. What I love is that he also respects what I do. He doesn't, put me in a position where I feel like I need to smolder that light or dim that light in any way. Like he gets it, he respects it. It's all cool. I can be all of me, and we can talk about politics and we can joke and watch, social media reels. We can just run the gamut and be super cool. Like we can take long road trips and be just fine. Like we can do whatever. We can be quiet. It's just very, very, very comfortable. In terms of the proposal, he did it big. Literally. He did it real big. And I was like,
jumped out of the airplane.
As he would say, 40,000 feet. But it was cool because it was very intentional. He planned it all out. I had no clue. He was very crafty.
You had no clue?
I promise you I had no clue. He set it up really well. He was like, because he had told me he thought about skydiving. He wanted to do it, but he hadn't built up the courage to do it. So one day he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. 4th of July. I'm going to do it. I was like, babe, go. Yes, let's do this. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up. You cool? And I'm like, yes, I'm cool. I'll be there. I'm going to cheer you on. It's going to be great. So then the night before, he's like, I'm feeling nervous. Well, of course, I'm thinking it's because you're about to jump out of a plane. Of course you're nervous about that. So I was like, babe, don't worry about it. You got this. It's going to be great. I'm going to be on the ground cheering you on. It's going to be awesome. So when we were there, he was doing all the things, paying, setting it up, blah, blah, whatever. I wasn't worried about anything. I'm just here to support him. I got my phone out, video, getting video of him landing. I'm like, way to stick the landing. I'm fully present with him skydiving. And then before you know it, people are circling up around us and he's dropping to one knee. And I'm like, what? All I could say was, what? Because I'm like, what is going on right now? But he had it all planned out. He paid for a videographer. He did messages before he, took off, and then he in the air talking about I'm about to propose. Like, it was just incredible. Like, it was 10 toes down with it, right? So it was amazing. Like, absolutely one of the most magical moments ever of my life. And then to have a private, because he's a private dude, and so we decided to have a private ceremony in Hawaii, literally just the two of us. And I was like, my kids? Like, what? But when you think about it, when you enter into marriage, I mean, that covenant is between the husband and wife. And so we decided to do that, just the two of us, period. And then we celebrated in Oahu, and then we came back and planned a family and friends reception in Austin. And it was the icing on the cake to be able to recite our vows in front of family and friends who had been there since day one and before. So that really sort of sealed the deal. And then we jumped the broom, and it was just like party time. And we've been partying ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just, I know, a portion of where you've been, and how long of a journey you said like it's been to get here. So I'm just so happy for you. Wish I could have been there. I was in Japan during that time, but everything I saw, I was like, it just felt like it looked like a day filled with love.
Yes.
So I'm glad both of y'all got to experience that. I'm so happy for your kids as well. Especially Kingston to have, obviously not his dad, but another, strong black male figure in the crib, because I always know what that means. Going back to, family, born and raised in Houston, just talk about what that meant and how it shaped you as a young woman and makes you who you are today.
Yeah. So the first thing I will say in terms of how it shaped me is I grew up poor. I tell everybody that. Like, I know people don't believe me when I say that, but I'm talking about, syrup sandwich poor. I'm talking about hog head cheese poor. I'm talking about for real.
Water on cereal.
Dude, adding the water to the milk to make it more milk for the cereal. Like, for real, right? A lot of love, a lot of family time, so many great memories. But the thing is, I was smart. I remember I could just catch on to things very quickly. I remember being in 5th grade with my 5th grade handwriting. And because I had finished all of my work, I'd done everything, the teacher asked me to put the names on the certificates for people for the award ceremony. And they're looking at their certificate like, who wrote this? I remember that because I'm a kid doing adult things, And it was like that. So I would find myself receiving a lot of favor from teachers and people at school, just because I guess I was likable, I was smart, and people saw great potential in me. And so they would just give me opportunity and I would maximize it, because for me, that sticker, that gold star, that really helped me define my worth at the time. Because, my mom and dad were just struggling, trying to make ends meet. They weren't reading books, how to be the best parent. They were just trying to live and make it. And so a lot of my enthusiasm, a lot of my drive came from the feedback and reinforcement I got in school. I can say that. I was in all of the activities, Girl Scouts and drill team, and I did all of the things, and it was very fun for me. I was like the love doc, even in middle school. I was doing these love quizzes for the newspaper that we would put out. Craziness. My name was what? Sweet Perfection.
Are you what?
I'm so serious. Everything I'm doing right now, this was divine. In middle school, a newspaper club. My byline was Sweet Perfection because I saw it on some candy.
So you were Lisa from Peanuts?
That too, yes. Yes. I did, because there was Teen Magazine, and then they had the little love quizzes. So I was like, I can do this. So I would create these little love quizzes.
I'm not surprised
I'm
whatsoever.
so serious. And I did these love quizzes in middle school. I'd be trying to put people together. They tell me their problems, just all the things. It was funny. High school, I did the morning announcements. Hey, all you cougs and cougettes, every day. Every day. I'm not surprised. No.
She's been all up in my love life. She knows all the nooks and crannies about it for the most part. But yeah, that, that upbringing definitely sound just knowing you, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Has that experience, growing up made you more, filled you with more gratitude, as an adult with all the things that you have accomplished, to be able to look back and be like, damn, I really have come pretty far.
Listen, I live in gratitude. I was told that life is God's gift to you, and what you do with it is your gift to God. And so everything I do is as unto God. It is me saying just thank you in every way possible for grace, for mercy, for favor. For high school, I moved in with my grandmother, and she was just like an earth angel, like for real. She was everything. Medea, love her to pieces. She was like my best friend. Everything I am, every value I have, every effort I exert is because of that woman. She believed in me like no other. She was just like the ultimate cheerleader. And a lot of what I did after high school was for her. It was to say thank you to her. Like, I went through undergrad in 3 years. I went year round, including in the summer, because she was like, she was also the first psychologist, because she would say, I'm getting old, and if you want me at your graduation, you gotta go ahead and wrap it up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you could die. I'm like, oh my God, let me hurry up. Let me take some more classes. I'm taking 21 hours. Like, I'm doing all this stuff. Oh, she had me so good, because she wanted to keep me on the path. And,
sure.
And that's how she did it. So I knocked out undergrad in 3 years. I think I was only out of school 6 months before I started in my, grad school program.
Sam Houston State, correct?
Sam Houston State for undergrad, University of Houston, Clear Lake for grad school. And then I went towards my PhD program. But I remember they invited me. Yeah, right? 3% of Americans, I'm just saying. But I remember two defining moments when they invited me to like this graduating ceremony in our grad school program, and they wanted me to be like the speaker, the keynote speaker, and Medea was there. And it was sort of a rites of passage, because I said everything until this point has been for Medea, and to show the world something different than what they see on the 6 o'clock news. But from this day forward, it's for me. Everything I do forward is for me. So that was a way of sort of like changing and shifting gears to live on my own terms, not just to thank Medea for going the extra mile for me. So that was good. And then I remember when I was applying to my PhD program, we had to do an interview with all of the professors who none looked like me, and they were all literally 40 years older than me, because I was in my PhD program, I think I was like 23 or something. And they were like, I think you need to live a bit more. I think you need more lived experience before you pursue a doctorate degree. And me and all my young boldness, I say, no, my time is now. So I say, no, I don't agree. My time is now. I will be the first graduate in your program. And so they were like, okay. So I was let in, and I was the first graduate of our cohort or whatever. Yes. Tell me my time is, my Father in heaven. But yeah, so I'm like, no, there just was this, and I think it was from Medea, but I have always just had this self-confidence, like, woo, you can't tell me what I can't do. I'm gonna do it. When I set my mind to something, I deliver. So, and that's just, I do, like, as a fact, not as a brag. It's just, if I'm in, I'm in. And so, I just believe in general, self-awareness, self-confidence, seeing the gift that you are to the world, and that's everybody, it will take you far, because it really is a mind game. Our thoughts will talk us out of so many opportunities. And if I could say anything to anyone, it's like, see who you really are, see the gift that you are to the world, and go and deliver.
Yeah, you kind of jumped the gun, because usually at the end of the show, I'll be like, what are some of the things that like you want somebody to know that they don't know about you? But you just let us know everything right there. So that's a really good start to this pod, for sure. I just think that like you say, you even told me those things. So
Yes.
it's definitely one of those things that going to therapy and making sure that you are okay internally allows you to shed a lot of that ego, really, because you're getting in your own way, really. So that insecurity, I think that's really important for you. Being from Houston, having your upbringing. I know you were athletic as well. As a child in college as well. Do you think that had any role in that self-confidence, that self-awareness, and you being able to channel that energy into more positive outlets rather than, maybe maybe I'm not, good enough to be here or anything like that? Does that have any role to play in that?
I think so. I remember in high school, I was a freshman and I tried out for varsity and made it. Cheerleading. Woo-hoo. So
what high school?
Nimitz High School.
Okay.
Out in ISD in Houston area. And so I was a cheerleader my sophomore year, my junior year. And then I noticed that the incoming freshman cheerleaders were so good. I mean, these babies were flipping all over the place. I was like, God damn, So when I was on the team and I was the youngest, no pressure, no comparison. Just the joy was making the team. Well, as I was entering my senior year and these freshmen were coming in flipping all over the place, now I have competition because I just knew I was going to be a captain, right? Because I had been on this squad so long. But I remember Jamie Trevathan. She was so good.
Damn, Jamie.
I know, Jamie. God down. She was really, really so good. They were such strong cheerleaders that I was like, all right. Interestingly enough, it didn't make me feel bad about myself. It made me step my game up. I think, when you're met with a challenge, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to bow down or you're gonna big up, and I was like, all right, I'm about to learn how to do this backhand spring this summer. This is happening. So I learned how to do the backhand spring. I remember I watched this Cindy Crawford 60-minute workout video. It was a VHS job because I'm old, okay? But yes, 60-minute workout video.
You should have stopped at Cindy Crawford.
I know.
Talking about VHS, Cindy Crawford. Oh, good
It's
Lord.
True. It's true. I did that workout every day. I was like, I'm going to get a 6-pack. I'm going to learn a backhand spring. I'm ready for these tryouts. So then, because I wanted to be captain because I was the best on the team, not because I had seniority. Right? So again, it's like these life lessons. So I think the sport and the pursuit of what I wanted, it just taught me that if you want something, you must work hard. And that cheer coach who's still around, Renee Bass, she said, when they do 10 kicks, you do 20. When they do 10 jumps, you do 20. So that put in my brain, you have to be twice as good. You have to be better than the best. And so I guess that was the first time when I'm like, you have to overachieve. You can't just achieve. You have to overachieve. You can't be close. It can't be a question.
I mean, you were a dancer at Sam Houston as well, or did I mess that up?
No, I was always cheer for me.
Okay, so you were a cheer at Sam Houston. Okay, so a collegiate athlete as well, which a lot of people I feel like don't know enough about, that you also were cheerleader.
And then I tried out for the Houston Texans cheerleaders.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yes, that was so fun. But at that point, I was already a therapist, and I made it to the final round. I was so proud of myself. But then I decided not to proceed because I felt like it would be a conflict of interest because I counsel couples, and would they take me seriously?
Gotcha.
And so I decided not to proceed.
Wow, add Houston Texans finalists. I'm gonna put a graphic up.
Right, almost, yeah.
Almost Houston Texans cheerleader. But yeah, just talk about your athletic drive, because I don't know if y'all follow. You're probably gonna follow her on Instagram after this. You're a whole athlete as a grown woman now, a pro fitness competitor, a award-winning pro fitness competitor. Talk about your journey in fitness, competitions, just your overall fitness, and wanting to, push yourself in a new lane, because as long as I've known you, you weren't always competing on this stage. You're obviously already an athlete. So just talk about that journey and getting into fitness competition and, how you feel about being a, muscle mommy, as they say.
I like that. So I've always been into fitness. I mean, I think it's from being in drill team when I was in elementary school, and then cheer from middle school on up. So, it's a part of my DNA to work out. I actually enjoy how I feel and look when I work out. I'm not gonna say I enjoy working out. So that's like, let me pause. But I like the results of that labor and of that effort. And I know the health benefits of it, the mental health benefits of it. And to be honest, I really feel like, the gym is like my couch, if you will. That's where I go and think, and that's where I go and sweat, and that's where I go and process. And it's good for me. But I've been working out. But when I got with Bryant, he had a goal to participate in a bodybuilding competition.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, do it. I'm like, this works for you. It works for me. I like muscles. Like, go. This is great. So he did. He got a trainer, meal plan. He's working out all the time. He's just got sculpted. And this was fantastic. And I remember going to the competition. Like, I had one phone for pictures and another for video, and I'm cheering him on. And I was just so proud of him because it is not easy. It is tough. It requires so much discipline, and you really have to be committed. And he did. And so when I would go to his competition, people were like, we know you're next. We know you're going to compete next. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, why would I do that to myself? Like, I love Tiptree's cookies. And so finally, after his first year, he was like, I think you should try it and just see what happens. My trainer, shout out to Justin, Team Both Legs, he was like, you really need to jump into this. You already have the physique for this. You won't have to do much. Let's just see what happens. Everybody, let's see what happens. I finally said yes a year and a half ago. So last year was my first season.
Wow, it's been that short of a time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've only done one season.
Wow. It feels like you've been at this for a minute.
I know. Because I was training with him for 2 years, and it took him 2 years to convince me to compete.
Gotcha.
So actually competing just last year. So last year, I was in my first amateur bodybuilding competition, which is laughable. It's funny for me to even say it. I don't think I've mentally even accepted it, although it is true. But I was in my first amateur bodybuilding competition and won my pro card. And I was like, okay. But it felt good to be on the stage. Of course, I do news, so I don't have a problem with lights, camera, action, any of that, right? But
sounds like you never had that problem.
I don't ever, never ever. But there's something to be said for grinding that out. Like there are no, shortcuts in bodybuilding. You can't do anything to speed up the process. You must do the work. Period. You must do the work. And you can't just do the work on one part of your body. Like, you must commit to building your entire body. You have to build your body. You have to burn your fat. There are so many things you have to do to prepare for the stage that just making it to the stage is its own reward. But then when you do that and you win and things like that, it's like, wow, this is good. And plus the byproducts. I remember getting my physical and my doctor saying, man, your numbers are fantastic. I mean, I'm 47, and so it's amazing. No medication, just nothing, just vitamins, and some probiotic. That's it. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. I would rather this be my health journey than to be concerned, with illness and sickness and things like that, if I can help it. So I'm like, you know what, this is doable. So I did the amateur competition, and then I did another competition, and I got second place. in a pro show. So my first pro show, I got second place. And then I did a bikini competition, which I was really hesitant because it is legit a bikini. And I'm like, dang. And people are yelling Dr. Cross from this thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't get around the TV part. So that was my hesitation also. Like, I can't, like, the skimpy clothes, like, it don't really fit. I'm like in news, you know. So I had these hesitations. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I've decided to just be me. So that it is what it is. And so I did the bikini competition, got second. And then it was like, okay, I got a little bit of gas left in the tank. And the Urban League was like, hey, we'll sponsor you. So I was like, what? Let's go. So
humble brag.
I was like, all right, okay. So then I was in the final competition for this federation of the year. And I won. So I won my first pro show, like first pro bodybuilding competition. And so now, dude, we're in season 2.
Just going back to, you know, you talked about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that this journey in fitness, you know, through the totality of it, but specifically the last, you know, year and a half, you know, 3 years really, that you've been training at this type of level, has given to you? Because you were just saying like you have benefited from this process. So what are some of those things?
I think just staying true to yourself and staying focused
Making
on
that
your
contract.
goals. Absolutely. And like doing the work. I mean, the class I go to with Justin is 6 a.m., yo. So it's 6 a.m. And I remember there was, and I have a lot of media appearances with what I do. And
Sure.
his concern was I'd be out in the community and cheat, right? So I just had to be super, super disciplined. Like I remember one time
Bringing your food with you to certain things.
I ate before I came here. Like, yes. And I remember it was one night, like a friend of mine and we went to see Marlon Wayans. He was in town. I think that show wasn't even over till like 10. Still went to the gym. You know, like it's that kind of crazy.
After the show.
Yeah, after the show.
Wow.
Still went to the gym. NABJ, like I'm still at the gym. Like what I do now, I travel and I find the Crunch Fitness. Like I find it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when we was in Chicago, you didn't do like the hotel gym.
I did both.
Okay. All right, bet.
Right.
Because there was a gym, like, it wasn't a Crunch, but there was like a gym in the neighborhood. I remember, like, okay.
In the vicinity.
Yeah.
Still, no drinking. No
Yeah. Nope.
Eating well. And I'm just like, y'all have salmon? Like, you know, just looking for the meals that I can eat. And I'll get a suite so that it has at least a kitchenette so that I can, you know, go to the grocery store and get my meals. So it's like you're committed. Like, even if I take a road trip, you know, I take my meals with me so that I know I won't be tempted, you know, to get whatever on the way.
Right.
So it really is, it's about commitment. And being committed to that process is the same commitment that you have to bring in the workplace, the same commitment you have to bring into a relationship, and showing up for yourself. There's so much to be said for, you know, doing things that are in your best interest, you know, working in your best interest, and there are rewards that come with it.
Yeah, so those rewards, you know, just to sum it up would be, making that contract for yourself, you know, improving that self-esteem. Just, you know, I mean, you know more than I do, but those endorphins get to firing, you get to feeling good about yourself. Or like you say, like, you enjoy the work because of, you know, how it makes you feel once you see the results and things like that. So I'm sure you're able to function better throughout the other parts of your life. Is that too much to say, or is that?
No, I think you're right about that. But it really is about just investing in yourself. Again, with me being confident, I like to defy, you know, expectation. And so some people think, you know, as you get older, you just give up, you just, you know, whatever, and just let the young people have it. And you just, you know, don't even try to keep yourself up or to stay tight and right. Like, no, I'm the hot mom. You know what I'm saying? I am. And I will be that. Like, it's the truth. Like, I don't.
Lord.
I was just saying.
Sorry, Kingston.
Well, he knows. But I just don't buy into the fact that, you know, you get a certain age and you stop caring about yourself or your well-being or whatever. And, you know, when I went to Justin, this is like full transparency. He was like, okay, what are your goals? I was like, I want to wear clothes without Spanx. You know, like, I don't want to wear shapewear or have to wear shapewear.
Sure.
And, you know, I want to be the most fit anchor on TV. Like, I want to be the most fit anchor in Texas on TV. And I want to be 50 and fabulous. Let's go. So, I mean, it's like a very like superficial personal goals, but you got to start somewhere. And I like that. I like that I don't, you know, I have worked with people who...
It works for you, though, to make those goals in that way.
You have to have your why. But I know so many people who won't go places because of appearance reasons, won't wear certain things. And I don't like to be restricted. I want to be able to wear what I want. I want to be able to go where I want, do what I want, and not have weight, you know, rob me of those opportunities, or illness or anything like that. I don't want anything robbing me of the life that I desire to live. So I will do the work to have freedom. And that's what it affords me. I think working out and taking care of myself and taking care of my mental health, it affords me freedom to live the life I want to live.
Which in turn makes you happier.
100%.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I all the things that you just said. As far as, again, sticking to mental health, because you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
15 years as a licensed therapist.
Oh my goodness. No, it's like,
I mean, you're still licensed.
24.
Yeah, you're still licensed now.
So I got my first license in 2000 as a professional counselor in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
And so I did that for years and years and years and years and years. But then when I went into journalism, that's when I'm like, okay, I don't need to continue to see a lot of clients. So I didn't renew my license because now I'm into journalism. And so now I do more coaching, then counseling, and then more like speaking on health matters and things like that, more research, more as that counselor educator.
Yep.
With the education that came from it. But I've been doing all of that 24 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been 24.
Just that alone, like just your journey from being a therapist to journalist kind of draw us that roadmap and really why you would choose this life over, I don't want to, check your bag or anything like that, but I'm sure you're making decent amount of money now, but like it's such a transition from being a therapist to a journalist. Sure,
in some ways, yes. I mean, you're still a communicator, and I think that's like the through line. That's the common denominator. But for me, I feel like I peaked early as a therapist because I had done everything you could do. I was a college professor. I'd worked in the public sector, private sector. I had my own private practice. Like I was doing so many different things. And I'm like, well, after I had Kingston, I was like, well, what do I go back to? Like, what do I do now? I've done all of this. And the one thing, I actually wanted to be a journalist before I wanted to be a therapist. Like when I was in high school, I remember watching Melanie Lawson in Houston. She's still on air there now. And she was an attorney and she was a journalist and she was a news anchor. And I thought she was poised and beautiful and intelligent. And I was like, I want to be like her. She's fabulous. But then my family sort of like dissuaded me from doing that because of the content of news. They felt like it was negative. And that is when I moved more into psychology.
Gotcha. So when you were at Sam Houston, you started out as a journalism major?
I was a communications major.
Okay.
And psych was my minor.
Gotcha.
And then I flipped it and made psych my major and speech communications my minor.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And so, walking that walk, it was great. And I did amazing things. And part of it was working as a subject matter expert for the media. So when I was the director of University Counseling, the University Counseling Center at TSU in Houston, I remember like Fox, would call me and other stations would reach out for me to provide commentary and headlines. And I would go to the station and do that. But then I would be thinking, I want to ask the questions, right? And so that kind of stayed in my mind. And after I took maternity leave with Kingston, when I was on maternity leave, I was like an adjunct professor remotely, and I was a Zumba instructor. So I've always done fitness. Like I was the Zumba doc. I had my own business. Like it's the truth. It's on YouTube. So I was the Zumba doc.
I'm definitely gonna be playing that.
Yeah,
this is gonna happen.
It's on there. I did all of that. I did. So there's a through line of fitness and communication in my life. and God. But so when it was time to go back to work, I was like, you know what? Maybe it was a bucket list thing. I was like, let's just see what happens. And that's when I went to the New York Film Academy in Manhattan, studied broadcast journalism. I was as they say, non-traditional student because I was older. I'd already had a career. But it was really, really fun. Like, we immersed ourselves in the industry, in the process.
You stayed longer, didn't you? Didn't you sign up for like a 4-week process, and you signed up for like the 8-week or something like that?
And I extended it because I was like, you know what? There's something here, and I want to make sure I get everything.
Sure.
Then I came back from New York and got my first general assignment reporter job, and they didn't want to hire me because of my education. They thought I was joking, and I'm like, no, really. And then they's like, do you know what the salary is? I was like, yes, let's call it mission work. And so, whatever.
That's what it is.
I was like, OMG. But at the time, I didn't want to just be a guest on the morning show. I wanted to be a credible journalist. I wanted to be a respected journalist. So I was like, I'll pay my dues. It's fine. I believe in it. Plus, I always had the fallback of psych, right? And that's the thing. Like, it wasn't that great of a risk. I could always go and that's what I love about education. It's a check that always cashes. I can always go be a professor. I can always go have a private practice. I can always go and do those things.
Right.
So this is something, it was a bucket list. I was just trying it out, but it just fit. I remember 3 months in, the news director was like, you should be on the anchor desk. We're going to train you to be an anchor. It's my first job. And I'm like, anchor what? And so we did that. And then after that, I was a morning anchor in Louisiana, then evening anchor in Louisiana. And then I came back and I was on the morning show team and midday team at KVU in Austin. And that was good. And then I wound up at Spectrum.
Just stop being so damn impressive. That's just ridiculous. Us normal folk don't have that ability. No, I'm just playing. That's awesome. I just think that just hearing that, I remember seeing it on paper when we first met. By the way, this is something I want everybody to know. When she got the job, in our business, they have such things as non-competes.
Right.
So she could not be on air for us when she first got to Spectrum. Mm-hmm. She did lowly AP work with a smile on her face every day. Like, she did no complaining. She knew what it was and just came to work every day. Super nice. And that's how me and her became friends, because she just naturally fit. Me and you just always had that type of rapport with each other from day one. It always felt like we'd known each other for years. But that was the one thing to me that stood out when we first met, was the fact that you knew you had some sort of, you had something to fall back on. You also knew that you had at least somewhat of a future in front of you where you were going to be able to do what you wanted to do anyway. Mm-hmm. And you still came in with a disposition that made me want to see you win. And I've always wanted that because of how you came in. You never came in with I didn't know who you were. Yeah. I didn't even know you had been on TV somewhere else, just because I'm always, a lot of people in our business, especially when you're on the news side of things, sports to a certain degree, watch the competition. I've never had that. I've always had blinders on. I'm going to do, a lot of what we talked about today. I'm going to do what fits me and what looks good for me. If I get too caught up in what somebody else is trying to do, that's going to hinder me from doing what I got to do and being myself. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even know that you had been on TV before. I didn't know you had this
No, but I didn't tell anybody.
And you didn't tell anybody.
Right.
So I think I found out, Jordan told me that because you had told him. Yeah. So because he was just kind of what are you doing?
Because remember, I was they put me to anchor the parade.
Right.
With Victor, and you were like, well, we got APs anchoring now?
Yeah, because I was I had no idea. I was which was you did great, but it was just and it was the way, at that time especially, but everything was so haphazard. So I'm it was more of a knock on the institution than it was necessarily you.
I get it.
I was like, this is wild. But then you got up there and killed it, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Type. You know what I mean? So it was just such a a lesson in humility for me, because sometimes I think, especially in this business, you get caught up in us being athletes, I'm better, and a lot of it is still like keeping those blinders on and just, doing what you got to do. So it was impressive to see that you like didn't talk about yourself at all. Because that's another thing that kind of can come with the business too. Like you get an inflated ego because of what you've accomplished.
Right.
And as we continue this conversation, just going into like being you on camera, I know you've struggled with, being, not, like we all code switch, as to a certain point in our career. I think me and you have gotten to the places in our lives where, we don't do it as much or at all for me. Cause that's just the way my brain is wired, and that my mental health don't work that way. I gotta be myself unapologetically. And you've definitely gotten there. Yeah. But just talk about that journey. Cause like we've talked about, like you wearing your natural hair was like something that wasn't a thing for you.
I was so nervous. Getting into the industry later than most, I felt like I had to play catch up. And so part of that is I connected with like a wardrobe stylist, an appearance stylist early on. So she sort of gave me the do's and don'ts. You need to wear bright colored clothes, and you need to, your hair needs to be at the collarbone, it needs to be straight, your makeup needs to be like this. She just sort of got me together, and that became like sort of like the Bible for working in TV. And I know many other journalists, female journalists, Black journalists share that. That's what we were told. You do this, you can't do that, you can't wear white, you can't wear black, you can't wear multicolors, you can't wear florals, and it's just all the things. And that was, that was the MO that I ascribed to and followed. But I got to the point where I felt free enough to challenge that. In part because I had a manager who supported individuality and, just like owning your own identity in the workspace, in the work that you do. You don't have to be one way before you get here and then another way on air and things like that. So she sort of gave us a license to be ourselves, and then we just experimented with it. And then I remember I was sent to New York on a work trip, and this was like really pivotal. And New York represents for me individuality. People are free to just be. And I said, if I am going to break out of this sort of shell, it's going to be here. So I chose to wear my natural hair in New York. And this is like with the big wigs I'm interviewing, with the big boss and all the things. But I felt like it was fine because I was in New York. Like you're going to see this on the subway. So it shouldn't be that different. And it was completely, they didn't bat an eye, they didn't blink. It felt amazing to be professional with my natural hair. It wasn't like one or the other. So then after that week in New York, I said, forget it. Like the reins are off. Like I'm going all the way in, because I also noted that some of the other Black like reporters and other journalists, they kind of followed suit with what I did. And so I said, then I can take a stand for my community. Like I can do this for us. And so that's when I came back, and I clearly remember having natural hair on air. I took a picture. I was like, I was told not to do this, but today I did. And it was very freeing and amazing. And then, boy, the Pandora's box was open. Because then I was like, I'm about to wear braids on there. I was told not ever to do that because it would be perceived as unprofessional. And it was awesome, and it was accepted and respected, and even from viewers. And I'm at the point now that I don't even give it a thought. Like I remember in ABJ last year, we did like a panel discussion about, wearing your natural hair on air and, wearing what you want to wear attire-wise, just all of it. And it's an extra layer of burden to carry. And so I love that with the passage of the Crown Act and everything that has taken place. Shout out to Tashara Parker and all these other pioneers who have been unapologetically natural and authentic. It's like they gave permission to so many others to do the same. And now I wear what I want, in every regard. And I don't question my, professionalism or anything like that. It's just freeing. And I think that is the word I keep coming back to, and that is priceless. Freedom is priceless.
And talk about, look, you've already started getting into it, but being a Black journalist who's also a woman, talk about navigating that aspect of yourself in, the scope of like, having to do your job, but sometimes it's like really hard to do your job as a Black person, let alone being a Black journalist who is a woman. I mean, especially in this, upcoming political, we're in it now, political climate.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, as a journalist, the goal is to be neutral and unbiased and not to let any of your personal viewpoints come across in your presentation of news. And that's a struggle when the headlines hit home. I think I really felt that with some elections from the past, but I really, really, really felt that after the death of George Floyd. And we covered all of the developments and all of the angles and all of the aspects, and it just was challenging because I really empathized with how the country was feeling after watching that. And so that was really something for me. I think during the pandemic, I did a series of stories about cultural mistrust and why Black people were not open to getting the vaccine. And so there has been sort of this intersection between journalism and culture and health that is just, it's inescapable. Like I could not escape of it at all. And so I just had to contend with my feelings about it. And I'm glad that I have a support system, people I can be candid with and talk about. But for me, there is just this responsibility. I often receive emails and messages from viewers who say, you represent us well, and we're so proud to turn on TV and see you, someone who looks like us. And initially that pressure, I mean, it felt like weight because I felt like, goodness, this mantle is heavy. I can't mess up. I can't have a misstep. I can't do anything because of all these people depending on me. And then I had to get to the point to where, they know who I am, and to know me is to accept my humanity and to just let me be me. I'm gonna do me, but let me be me. And so it's good to be at a point. It's great to have the responsibility. I love representing for my community, but it is not a cloak anymore. It is not, pressure anymore. I just happen to represent by doing what I do. I just happen to represent by fulfilling God's plan for my life. And that's different than me trying to represent, because when you're trying to do something, there's a chance you won't get it right.
Yeah, you might not be authentic.
Exactly.
Like if you're trying to put on something that ain't there necessarily.
Natural.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing what you do and people relate to it, then that's just a bonus. And so that's how I see it now. It's just a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I say all the time, Black people, like Black history is every day. You're doing what you do is Black history. As far as things that your compatriots can do, just talk a little bit about, how Black, some helpful ways that some helpful tips, I should say, on how Black, women journalists can navigate, doing their job in this climate when they're going to be, dealing with people that might not necessarily have the same views as them.
I think the first step is reminding yourself that this individual or this experience doesn't define you. I think that's important. Staying true to yourself, no matter who you're interviewing, no matter what work assignment you have to stay true to yourself, period. I think that is a big component of it. And staying focused. I remember when I would do like anger management support groups, and I would always give the example of like going through a drive-through, like Whataburger or whatever, Burger King, McDonald's. And even if the speaker is jacked up and it's like, you can barely hear them, you can grow frustrated in that moment because you're not able to communicate your thoughts. You're not able to get your point across. You get caught up in the jacked up speaker, but the goal is to stay focused. place the order. And if you can't place the order, that jacked up speaker, then drive around to the window and place your order. So don't get caught off guard or distracted by what's happening around you. Stay focused on the goal, period. And when you do that, then you won't lose yourself to this person.
Because it's easy.
Oh, it's very easy.
It's easy.
Oh, it's very
I've had to do
easy.
some woosahs in my career.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Talking to some certain individuals.
Absolutely. And even for me as a therapist, like, I used to do like child custody cases, CPS cases, and then I'm talking with a parent, who assaulted a child, or, just people who are in jail for doing all sorts of bad things. And I've got to stay me. I remember I was pregnant with Lexi, and I was counseling this guy, and he was like, I take this medication to keep me from knocking the like he was so aggressive, and I'm pregnant. And in the moment I'm thinking, all right, I could lose my cool, as well, and be as agitated as he, or I could be the model and bring him down. And so I would rather be like the gauge. Like, I will adjust the temperature. Like, you won't adjust my temperature, right? And honestly, when the situation gets even more stressful, I get even calmer. It's kind of cool to have that level of self-control. So I would say, stay true to yourself, stay focused on the goal, and exercise self-control.
But on that note, being a Black woman, talking about staying true to yourself, focusing on the goal, and, checking your own temperature.
Correct.
We're fresh off of another Black Girl Summer in the Olympics. For you, how has it felt to watch, as a Black woman, all of these other very impressive Black women dominate their respective sports over the last, 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Couple of lifetimes.
It is what it is, right? Like,
it's just a Black woman era.
It's par for the course. Yeah.
I think it's just a Black woman era. It's just a good time.
I was talking about specifically for the Olympics.
And I know, and I'm gonna get to that, but it's like a progression. I just think it's a good time, to like be in my skin right now, because I just have so many reasons to be proud and to celebrate what I love. And I enjoy the Olympic Games, and I have watched through the years, but never as intently or as intentionally as the Paris Games. Because for me, in so many ways, with so many athletes, it represented redemption. I love a good redemption story. From Simone Biles to Sha'Carri Richardson to Noah Lyles, so many of them had to rise. And it makes me proud that Sha'Carri, after having the issues that she had regarding the last Olympic Games, that she stayed the course, that she kept training. I mean, imagine if someone said, you can have success, but we're going to delay it 4 more years. Okay? Imagine if someone says, you can have success, but you need to spend time in a Russian prison first. Like, I think, we're in this space where we need it now. We need all of it right now. And what these athletes represent is that you may have to suffer. Like, you may have to suffer on the path towards greatness. And you have to accept the journey with all the twists and turns that come with it. Sometimes when we see celebrity and when we see people who are doing great things in movies and music, we only see the ascension. We only see them at the top. We don't see the struggle. Your today does not define your tomorrow. And you will win if you do not quit. And to me, that's what this class of Olympians represented, particularly my Black sisters.
Yeah, Brittany Griner is one of those stories that I feel like we've very easily forgot about, because it is such a remarkable tale to go from political prisoner to back to playing basketball, because she said publicly and, privately that she did not think that she would ever play ball again, back to making the Olympic team, then back to the gold medal game, gets benched during the game because of, matchup issues or what have you, and still is just like full tears, emotional, goes and hugs her wife, like just so happy to still just be there, when I feel like a lot of athletes, would have been upset or angry that they're not going back into the game. She was still very supportive and still very, very emotional. Yeah. Just, I could not imagine what she's gone through, but like, what were some, like, cause that's how I felt. Yeah. So like, how did you feel when you saw that?
And the thing is, like, if you want to quit, there will be plenty of opportunities for you to quit, and
no one would have blamed her if she did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, we get it. Like, we get it. If you want to give up and quit, there will be moments, and activities that occur where it's like justified, right? But not only did she not quit, she didn't just continue living, she was thriving. So she got back in her, she was with her wife. They now have a child. So she went from a prisoner to a parent, to a three-peat Olympian. Like, what? All because she didn't give up. And interestingly enough, securing that gold medal, she said 2 reasons. 1, she's got a child now, and she wanted to do it for her child. That was her motivation. 2, she said that the U.S. went to bat for her, and she wanted to go to bat for the U.S. Deep. It was deeper than the game. Like, it was way deeper than the game. So, I mean, again, that level of sacrifice, can you imagine what it was like for her to pull out that passport, to board that plane for an international flight? Do you understand the PTSD? Right? To check her luggage, and leave her country after the last time she left her country? Right. Like, I'm just saying, like, as a therapist, I understand each aspect of what it took to get her to that court in Paris. That's deep. And she pushed through all the hesitation and all the trauma to go and to play, the best ball she could. And it paid off. Yeah,
shout out to Team USA. 8 straight golds, 61-0 in Olympic competition with pro female athletes. Again, led by a bunch of beautiful, talented Black women on that team as well. Houston, stand up. Brittany Griner. What? Houston, stand up. Simone Biles. I'm getting there. Don't rush me. I'm getting there. Simone Biles. Just talk about what that feels like for you. Again, another Houston woman doing her thing.
As a therapist, I couldn't post or share her content enough. I think she has been such a champion for mental health. I have so many examples. I mean, they caught her when she was getting ready. I think it was right before the vault or something, when she said, she took a deep breath and she said, "You got this." Like, didn't even know the camera was on her. But that's the kind of positive self-talk you have to do in your life while she's sitting, waiting for her turn. To see her making a decision not to go to the Olympic Village because she's feeling anxiety because all the other Olympians want to take pictures with her. And that's making her feel anxious. To see her, having her mom braid her hair because that's the tradition that they share, being able to spot them in the stands, her husband being there, despite all the drama, and all the things,
He's come back around. I don't think he had a choice, but he came back around.
He came with the
Because how do you not know who Simone Biles is when you start dating? Like, I we don't have to get into it too much,
right?
But we've talked about this before. Doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
Doesn't make sense. I think this is the lies you tell yourself, so you're not too intimidated, and that's fine. Whatever you gotta do.
Facts.
But to see, the level of support. I mean, she
big time
championed what self-care and taking care of your mental health looks like. And if she, being the GOAT, has to actively and intentionally do that, like having virtual counseling sessions, several, while she was there in Paris, if she has to do that at the level of where she is, certainly we can do that, where we are and with the access, that we have and things like that. So I just feel like I'm just so proud of her doing what it took to keep her sanity and to not let her anxiety or anything like that keep her from her rightful place. Again, I always talk about, you can't let issues rob you of your life, choke the life out of you. You've got to find a way to get on top, and move forward. And she did that, period. And even when she didn't win the gold medal, she's like, okay, let me just be clear. Okay. So before y'all try to attack me on social media, I don't care. So let me get ahead of it. So I just felt like she handled herself with such class, and she just took care of her mental health. She really did, and she gave a beautiful example of what that looks like.
And just to say because we're about to wrap up here real quick, just to say this to everybody listening: if you get invited to the Olympics, you've already won. Right. So all of this, this American arrogance, all this about well, you didn't get a gold medal, what? Who cares?
You're an Olympian.
And
who can say that?
I get into this, especially with USA basketball, with a lot of people, because we've won and dominated for so long that if it's seen as a failure if they get if they just medal. Right. Yeah, if they just medal, if they get a silver or bronze. And I just really want to get people past that. I'm a competitive person myself. Of course, I want to see, my boy Lyndon Victor. Shout out to my boy Lyndon Victor. He got a bronze medal for the decathlon for Grenada. Nice. So but this process takes so long. He's trained for 15 years for this. He was at the last Olympics. I think he came in 10th. Yeah. He's 10th in the world, ranked, but he rose to the occasion and he got a bronze medal. So I just think that just getting there, qualifying for the Olympics, going to the trials, doing all of that stuff's an accomplishment. Yeah. So I just had to get that off my chest because I feel like so many of us who, can't lift up a paper bag, or walk 2 minutes down the street, to the corner store, they're always well, you didn't stick the landing, or, swim faster, or Team USA isn't as good, and the world's catching up. I'm all right, man.
Miss me on that, please.
I had to get it out.
Okay, you feel better?
Yeah, I feel a lot better. Okay, good. But yeah, I just, as we wrap things up, I just want to tell you thank you. A lot of people, no one knows this story except for probably a couple people that I've told, but when I got laid off, this woman here was one of the first people that called me, and she took me out to dinner and just kind of, asked me how I was. She always asks me how I'm doing. I think her spider senses go off every now and then. She'll just text me or, call me and just ask me how I'm doing to catch up. Even with her kids and her, her hubby and her family and everything else, she still calls and checks on the people that she cares about. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much. You've been so important in my life. I just think that, the older I've gotten, people just come into your life unsolicited. And it's, it's a part of the universe, God, whatever you believe in. But the way that we met was so organic, and our relationship has grown and been organic, and it's been fruitful outside of the business. It's a genuine friendship. I call you my sister, not in jest. I really look at you I look up to you as a compatriot, as a person. You've been there for me during some of the toughest parts of my life. So I just wanted to tell you on wax in front of everybody, thank you so much. Because I don't think people really know what kind of person you are outside of work. So that's really one of the main reasons I wanted to do this. So thank you so much for coming. But tell everybody where they can find you outside, on the socials and, what you're working on.
All right. So I have to say, 1, you're welcome. And 2, thank you as well. I mean, it has been an authentic, enlightening, mutually beneficial friendship since day one. I remember us riding together to a Black History Work event, and for me that was when, for me that was when it went past work, and it was just deeper. It was just deeper. We connected on a deeper level, and I consider you a brother.
I was talking that day too. So it was a Spectrum Work Black History event, and it was. I was being my normal militant self,
Yes.
and I was asking all the questions and
Yes.
saying all the things during the meeting.
All the things.
Yeah.
Being Victor.
Being
Who we
Victor.
love. Yes, but no, it's been rewarding, and like, you know, I hope it never fades. No matter where life takes you, I will support you. I will be your cheerleader forever. But in terms of me, of course, you can find me on social media. Just find Dr. Nicole Clark, and that on all social media, that's where I am. And as far as what am I doing, everything. Like literally everything.
Any special projects you can, let us in on or anything like that?
What I'm happy about is that, believe it or not, my work is expanding. Even at Spectrum, we just made the announcement that along with doing the 5 o'clock show, I'm going to be doing the 9 o'clock show. So that's more anchoring. And then I have my Your Mental Health franchise, and it was on the national show and airing in Texas. But now it will air, and we'll do talkbacks for all of the Spectrum affiliate stations across the country, New York, LA, DC, everywhere. So, I mean, I just love the place that I'm in, because even with all the work, I will forever be the work hard, play hard girl. Like, I will always take care of myself. The self-care is so important. I will always want to have a boogie here and there, a good time. Here, I will always do that. So it's always going to be balanced. My word is balance. So that's what I have going on.
Yeah, me and you and Brian got to finally get dinner.
Yes.
And hang out. Miss you guys. But again, thank you so much. Like she said, you can find her at Dr. Nicole Clark.
Correct.
On Instagram and the social medias, and again, you'll see her on the 5 and 9, and being your statewide mental health correspondent, nationwide mental health correspondent for Spectrum News. So, again, thank you so much. Thank you again to Corbin Butler for providing some of the music you'll hear in this episode, and thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.